Well, we're back from Alaska. It has been almost a week now since we've been back, and I didn't really vlog on the trip. I took a lot of footage of things that I saw, but not really having any voice behind it. So when I got back, because I wasn't intending on doing a video, when I got back though, all our friends and family wanted to know all about the trip. And as I've been trying to compile it and put it together, one, I have not felt well, so just excuse all of this. But I couldn't get any technology to work, and it's been very frustrating because I didn't want just the video clips to be there with music behind it and you just watch it. I wanted to explain what you were looking at. So the best way I know to do that is sit down, record my thoughts, and then see how they're going to, I guess, voice over the different clips that I have. We did several things, and the nice thing about it is we paced ourselves. It was a land-only trip, meaning we flew there. We did not go by cruise ship. And we really took our time in Anchorage and its surrounding areas. That's where we stayed. We didn't really venture off any further north or south outside of Seward. Now, we did go to Seward, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But as far as like the other ports that people talk about on cruise lines, we did not get to any of those. Again, we just mainly, our furthest distance out was Seward, and that was south, I believe. So, but we took our time, and the first day we got there, we rested and just let everybody, people had to work. We needed to rest because it was over 20 plus hours of travel for us because we had to drive to the airport of where we were flying out to, which was 2 hours, I think. And then we had to fly. So it was a very, very long commute for us. Now coming back, that wasn't the case, and I'll explain that later. But going out, it was a very, very long day for us. And technically it was 2 days, but you lose time going to the west. So anyway, it was a good trip. Thankfully, we didn't have any issues going out. Everything kind of went according to plan, no big delays. So all in all, pretty easy getting out there. And once we were there, we rested, and then the next day we got to have some fun. And to say that Alaska shut off for us is an understatement. It's what they call break-up season, where the snow and the ice is melting, and people say it's kind of gray, and the roads are slushy, and the gravel is piled up on the side of the roads. And while, yes, that is true, it's when things are starting to come alive. Now, normally, my favorite time of the year, I actually have two, but if I have to pick, I love Easter time, early spring, because it's that freshness, that new life, that you can just smell it in the air. And that's how I felt about Alaska, was everything was breaking up, it was melting, peaks of green were shining through, the animals were waking up, and they're starting to have a lot of activity. And I really enjoyed early season Alaska. I really did. And I'll talk a little bit more about some more pros about going early, but I really did enjoy the time that we went. The only downside to that is there's a couple species that we were too early for, and then also we could not go fishing. So the next trip that we do, Marshall will get to go fishing, and I mean, I'll get to go as well, but I mean, Marshall is the fly fisherman in the family, and so I will learn before we go, and he will teach me. I have fished other ways, just not fly fishing. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to get back up there when the season is open for that and the rivers are open. It just wasn't the right time, and that's okay. We had other things that we did that made up for that, missing that part of the trip, I guess. But we already knew that going in. So the first thing that we did once we started our adventuring out into Anchorage was really just exploring the nature itself. And we took an incredible drive up to the Wildlife Conservation Center. Now, as we're traveling down, the area that we had to drive through is called the Turnagain Arm. And the water comes in and out very, very quickly, and a lot of it. So during that time, animals do migrate through there or travel through there. And one of the things that travels through there are beluga whales. Now, normally people don't see them. They're actually very hard to spot because the way that they move in the water just looks like white caps. And so unless you're familiar with the way currents look and the way that water navigates in inlets, you're not going to really be able to spot them very easily. We live in a very wildlife focused area, and we also live around a lot of water where we live in Tennessee, and so we're used to reading water, and we got very, very lucky and saw an entire pod of beluga whales. And so I'll put that in right here if I can. Even one sang to us, and I hope you get that footage as well. We stopped on the side of the road, and there are whales in the arm, and we're a little bit far from them, but I'm going to try to get as much as I can to see it. They are belugas from what we can think, from what we can see, and they're headed right our way. So I'm going to try to zoom in and get this. It was really cool to hear him vocalize, and everyone around us was like, I've never heard that before. So I felt really special that we got to hear that. And just seeing them out in the wild and to be in that presence of them was just amazing. As we continued up the arm, we ended at the Alaska Animal Wildlife Conservation Center. I'll put the correct wording right here. That's stormy. Went to the Wildlife Conservation Center, and this was the first place that we saw a moose. However, it was not in the wild. There was, I think, 2 or 3 on property. And then as we walked around to the different exhibits, you got to see all the different wildlife that, is in Alaska, but in a controlled environment. So we got to see the brown bears, and let me tell you, they showed off for us. They were extremely active. They played and they roughhoused. We stood there forever and just watched in amazement at these bears. And they were as close as I am to the camera. They really are magnificent creatures and deceivingly powerful. They just look cute and cuddly, but they are very, very strong animals and should be treated with respect. And so to see them that close to me was amazing. So after we finished the bear exhibit, we walked around to the caribou, and before the black bears, I forgot that we did get to see the lynx, but his habitat was very controlled, and so you really couldn't get a good picture of him or video or a really good look at him, which is I understand and respect that from a caretaker's point of view. And so it was really neat to actually see one in person. Their paws are so big and so fluffy, but their paws are so big so they can walk on the snow. He was beautiful. He or she was absolutely beautiful. And then as we made our way around through the brown bears, we saw the bison and elk and, what else? We saw the wolves. We saw the black bear. We saw the porcupine, and I'll put that in right here. He was absolutely beautiful. I've never seen one in person, and particularly that close up. The bald eagle, and I know there's more, but it really was one of my favorite places that we visited and got to see all the different species of wildlife that were there. They do an incredible job. They do really great work there, and so I did buy a couple things to support them. I bought some stickers and little things like that. But it was a really, really neat place, and they do a really great job taking care of their animals. So I highly recommend, if you're in that area, that you give the Conservation Center a look at and go visit. And like I said, we could not believe how active the bears were. And the people that we were with, they even said they had never seen the bears so active. And I truly believe the brown bears and the black bears were that active because you're coming out of breakup season. And so they're ready to play, and they're excited that the sun is out. And so are we. It was absolutely a beautiful day. So after we finished with the caribou, it was time for us to leave and make our journey back. And I don't remember how far we were from Anchorage, but it was the entire length of the Turnagain Arm, and that's kind of what was at the end of it, and then you came back. into town. And that was our huge adventure for the day. We did stop on a couple little lookouts along the way, and that was stunning, and my pictures are on Instagram of that. The mountains were just stunning, and they literally looked like they were glowing against the blue sky. It was breathtaking. So we did take a lot of time getting through the arm because we were stopping so much, which is fine. And in fact, I think I actually missed a day. Maybe. So the next day, or the day before the day after we did that, we went to see the glacier at the park. And I'm going to put the name of the glacier right here because I think it's Matanuska. I'm probably mispronouncing that. Is before or after, and I can't remember, all of us got to go to the glacier, and it was a very long drive out to it. We did not go on the glacier because of snow and a couple other reasons. We decided to see it from a higher point and kind of do the more scenic look. So we got to see all the rivers and how the snow was on the edge of the rivers, cutting through it and melting, and that was stunning. Just to see the water glistening from the sun and that beautiful snow. If you know what I'm talking about, rivers cutting through snow, it's just breathtaking. And so we really took our time looking at all of that. And then as we left the glacier and came back down, we stopped in Palmer. Now, Palmer, Alaska, I think it's about 45 minutes from where we were staying in Anchorage. Palmer was one of my favorite shopping places. They had some really great locally owned shops. Poppy Lane was one of them, and that had all kinds of different, not only local artists, but local vendors that were inside. So you really had, if you were looking for something to take back with you, you had that opportunity. There was plenty of things in there. In fact, I think Marshall, that's where he got his thermos with its green with Alaska on it. And the state of Alaska, it's really, really pretty, and it's in a really unique size. I think it's like from here down, which he really liked that. And so we went there, did a little shopping, and then I think we went to eat after that at a cafe. And then we went to Alaska Chick Co. And I bought the most amazing sweatshirt. It has salmon down the sleeves, and it has like a gray or black body. I can't remember. And I absolutely love this hoodie. And what's really neat about it, they don't know this. They just made it because it was cute. But as you know, as some of you may or may not know, I do infusions, and it is port accessible. I do not have a port yet, but IV lines can easily be traced through the sleeve and come up through the port side of it, and makes it very easy to wear during infusion time. So I really liked that store. It was a very cute store, and I will be definitely shopping from them online in general. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit. We did a little bit more sightseeing, and Marshall and I had some time where him and I got to go by ourselves for a little bit, and we went to the Ulu factory in downtown Anchorage. And we were making some ulus while we were there. They were making the boards, not necessarily sharpening and designing the blades while we were there, but they were tweaking and finishing off some of the boards that you use with the ulus. It was great. It was not busy at all, which I loved. I didn't feel squished or like shoulder to shoulder with people trying to navigate, because it was more of a tourist spot because a lot of people want to take an ulu back from Alaska. That's kind of everybody's take-home item, I guess. And so we went in, we looked around, and we just had a really great time doing that. And then we went and walked on the coastal walkway. And it's Tony something walkway. And Marshall and I just walked, I think it was about 1.5 miles round trip. And we just walked the coastal line. We were walking through a tunnel. And it makes lots of echo noises. And when we pop out the other side, we'll get to see the inlet and some mountains. How cool is this? There wasn't a point during our trip where we were freezing, but we were always wearing our windbreaker jackets, and these jackets are made for snow and snowboarding or snow activities, and so you can layer underneath them. And so they were perfect for us. I never once was too hot or too cold. Our jackets and our pants both have vents in them, and so you can actually unzip in certain areas and let air in. And so I'd never felt once like I was overheating or I wasn't warm enough. And so I felt like we did a really good job packing for the trip. So yeah, I was very pleased with what we took. And as I said, I felt like we did a good job with that. We probably even overpacked a little bit just because I didn't know when we went to eat what dress codes were going to be like. And now that I know, for next time, there's certain things like I will omit from packing. So now we've had a couple of days to do on and off by ourselves. We've rested, we've explored Anchorage, we've done the Turnagain Arm, and now everybody gets to go to Seward. And this drive is a little bit more time consuming, but the view makes it feel like it doesn't take any time at all. And I love that. We, again, had the most beautiful day. We drove to Seward, did the whale watching tour, and I can't even describe it. So what I am going to do is just put some music in here and let you guys watch and enjoy, because we saw humpback whales, we saw Dall's sheep, we saw Dall's porpoise, we saw sea lions and otters, and an otter with her baby pup. And you can describe it all you want, but until you see it, there are no words for it. So here you go. So after we did this, me particularly, I was exhausted. And I will say that we decided before we came that I was not going to take my wheelchair. And also I did not have my service dog with me. This day and another day is when I really felt that impact. I pushed myself really hard because I did not want to miss out on anything. And I think I would have done a little bit better if I had had those things with me, but I still did well considering, and I just had to really take it slow. Ramps and stairs were really starting to get difficult because it was part of the end of the trip. And I'm telling you this because with it being a spring tour, a spring wildlife tour for the whale cruise, the ship or boat that we were on, I think can hold 300 people, if I'm not mistaken. There was maybe 40 to 50 people on the boat. Let me tell you how awesome that was. Because not only did we have all the room we wanted, the staff, the crew, was absolutely elated that everybody was back for the season, and they were fresh and excited and energized and happy to be with us and excited to go look for things. Anytime the captain mentioned over the intercom that there was a wildlife sighting, and he would use clock directions like 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, part of the boat is enclosed to keep you warm, and so you have to go outside to the decks. There's only 1 or 2 doors. If that boat had been full and they said, there's a humpback whale over here, think about the traffic jam trying to get out onto the deck to see the whales. And I think, yes, we did not see orcas because it was too early. We did not see puffins because it was too early. But we did see humpback whales, and we did see the Dawes porpoise, and we got to spend as much time on the deck as we wanted to. And even this, people, when the humpback whale, because they only come up in increments of time before they dive down, and that's when you see their tail, they can be down for 4 to 5 minutes, or they can be down for 45 minutes. 4 to 5 minutes or 45 minutes. So you never knew once that tail came up how long they were going to be down for. And so people would say, as soon as they got their picture taken, they say, did you get your shot? And we got to take pictures with no one behind us or around us. People were so considerate in letting other people navigate around the deck to get the photo that they wanted. And I thought that was just really, really nice. We had backpacks, we had jackets, we had all this like bulky stuff with us, because I did have to take a backpack with all my stuff in it, with medications and medical equipment in it in case I needed something. And every time I got up out of my seat, I never felt like, because everything's glass, because the crew was constantly walking around, I never once worried about somebody messing with our stuff. If the boat had been any more crowded, I would not have felt that way. I would not have been able to leave my backpack or my jacket, or I think at one point I even left my phone on the table because I didn't want to video. I just wanted to be in the moment, and so I left my phone to run outside to look real quick and then come back in again. And I think, in all reality though, I think one person from our party was always at the table, and we just kind of rotated. But again, reiterating, I never felt like, because there were times where all 4 of us were out on the deck, that I was worried about our stuff. Not once. Everybody had this mutual understanding and respect for one another, and I feel like we got really spoiled. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like we got really, really spoiled. So we had a great day. We were exhausted. We drove in, and we decided to do a very special dinner to celebrate some milestones and the anniversaries and stuff. And we went home and went straight to bed. At the end of the day, I could not be more excited and more thrilled that we took this trip, and the people that we did it with, and how we did it, and the way that we took our time with it. It definitely was a trip I will never forget, and look forward to going back when we get to go fishing. We jam-packed a lot in a few days, even with taking breaks. And I pushed myself even more than I should have, because I'm still paying for it. But my infusion's next, in a couple of days, so I'll be fine. But it really was a utopian trip. And the people that we were with kept saying, boy, Alaska is just like this all the time. It's not gray ever. There's not that much snow. All in jest, because it really was snow-capped mountains, blue skies, sun shining, and just driving through the mountains, exploring the majestic sight of Alaska. And you can film it all you want, but you'll never be able to do it justice on camera. So I hope you enjoyed this video, just kind of recapping, doing some highlights of our trip. Follow me on Instagram. That's where a lot of the pictures are. I do have a Resilience is Beautiful Facebook page, or I am posting there as well. But mainly the majority of my time is spent on Instagram. So if you've never been to Alaska, I highly recommend you go. There's still things we did not get to do. We have plenty to do when we go back. and I am really looking forward to it. So until next time, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you soon.